based in the 1930s. Right, so this is right in the heart of the Great Depression. Um, this is the setting is in Texas, which is makes the situation even worse because Texas parts of Texas was where the Dust Bowl was. So basically, there would be these giant dust clouds because there was no rain, and because there was no rain, um, none of the crops were growing. All right, so we ended off here. Basically, at the end, we see that Billy Joe is being invited to play piano. So this is where we left off. Remember, she's living with her mother and father. Her mom's pregnant. All right, all right. So we're gonna start here. This is where we're at. Make sure you're following along. You're gonna have a couple questions, guys. Okay? And I'm going to ask a few to make sure that you are paying attention. All right. Sometimes when Ma is busy in the kitchen, or scrubbing, or doing wash, I can ask her something in such a way. I annoy her just enough to get an answer, but not so much I get a no. That's a way I found of gaining what I want, by catching Ma off guard, especially when I'm after permission to play piano. Right, so, excuse me, she's being slick here. So she kind of recognizes that when she wants something from her parents, she has to ask them a certain way and she has to be careful about it. So, again, what she wants is to be able to play at this recital. Right out asking her is no good. She always gets testy about me playing, even though she's the one who truly taught me. Anyway, this time I caught her in the slow stirring of biscuits, her mind on other things, maybe the growing inside her, I don't know. But anyhow, she was distracted enough. I was determined enough. This time I got just what I wanted, permission to play at the palace. So she was able to get exactly what she wanted. She asked her mom if she can go, and her mom's like, yeah. All right, next one. On stage. When I point my fingers at the keys, the music springs straight out of me. Right hand. Hold on one second. I gotta yell at my nephew and niece because they're making too much noise and driving me nuts. Hold on a second. Guys, you're gonna go to the playroom. Come, teach over there. Oh, sorry, guys. Ugh. They're usually not making noise now, but today they decided to be happy and screaming. All right, so something you guys should notice about um, this specific chapter is the way that the text is structured. So they're trying to almost make it feel exactly like the feeling that she's going through playing this music. So you notice you'll see like the lines on the left and on the right. Just trying to highlight what she's actually going through. So it says, when I point my fingers at the keys, the music springs straight out at me. Right hand, playing notes sharp as tongues, telling stories while the smooth, buttery rhythms back me up on the left. Folk sway in the palace aisles, grinning and stomping and out of breath. And the rest, eyes shining, fingers snapping, feet tapping. It's the best I've ever felt. Playing hot piano, sizzling with Mad Dog, swinging with the Black Mesa Boys, or on my own, crazy, pestering the keys. That is heaven. How supremely heaven playing piano can be. Right, so she performs in this little Jonathan. Jonathan, stay focused, buddy. We're looking around the world. So she had her little recital, and the recital actually went very, very well. All right, who remembers who FDR is? Who is FDR? Who was FDR? Who remembers who that is? Who was FDR? Anybody remember who FDR is? This is actually from Bell Prater. Who is FDR? Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Who was that? Does anybody recall? No one? Mr. Jimenez, do you recall who FDR is? Or Mr. Allen? Allen's actually not there. Who's Franklin Delano Roosevelt?
He was a president, I think.
Yes, that's exactly.
A Democrat, I think.
It's exactly correct. So it's actually kind of interesting now too, because Franklin Delano Roosevelt, similarly to what we were going through, was dealing with people who are out of work, right? So now we're kind of like living through it. And Franklin Delano Roosevelt was actually a victim of a pandemic. So when he was growing up in his 30s, he wound up catching this disease that we actually have a vaccine for now called polio. So similar to right now, right? Like people are worried about catching COVID. He actually lived through a period of time where people were afraid of this disease called polio, um, that crippled lots of people. And kind of in reverse though, people nowadays like aren't afraid of young people catching COVID. They're more afraid of old people. It was like actually the opposite. So polio was a disease that actually was much more deadly to young kids than not the old. Though FDR wound up being paralyzed from it. All right, so birthday for FDR. I played so well on Wednesday night. Arlie put his arms across my shoulder and asked me to come and perform at the president's birthday ball. Ma can't say no to this one. It's for President Roosevelt. Not that Mr. Roosevelt will actually be there, but the money collected at the ball, along with balls over the country, will go into the president's name to the Warm Springs Foundation, where Mr. Roosevelt stayed once when he was sick. So this was like a place where people would go to kind of like rehabilitate um, when they were dealing with polio. So that's what this money is going towards. Someday, I plan to play for Franklin Delano Roosevelt himself. Maybe I'll go all the way to the White House in Washington, D.C. In the meantime, it's pretty nice Harley asking me to play twice for Joyce City. All right, so she's being asked again to play for the piano. All right, not too much to ask. So here I want you guys to focus on how the how would you what do you think about the mom's actions in this pages. We haven't had a good crop in 3 years, not since the bounty of 31. Right. So again, this family lives on farming. Question, Jacob.
My computer's acting up, so I'm gonna reset it.
That's fine. Yeah, I'm recording all this, so if you need it, just watch the video when I'm done. Okay.
Guys, doing the clip with me. I put it on my phone.
All right. Yeah. So I'll just I'm sharing this with you when I'm done. All right. So again, this family's farmers. So again, Dust Bowl, depression, things aren't so good for them. We're all whittled down to the bone these days, so basically they're poor. Even Ma with her new round belly, so even the mom's like super skinny because they don't have crops. But still, when the committee came asking, Ma donated 3 jars of applesauce, some cured pork, and a feed sack nightie she'd sewn for our coming baby. So if you think about the mother, what does the fact that they gave away all that food and the thing that she was making for the baby tell you about her? What does that tell you about the mother?
She's nice.
Yeah, so that's like super nice, right? So this family here is struggling. They got no food, but they're still giving it away to other people in need. All right, Mr. Harley's money handling. It was Daddy's birthday, and Ma decided to bake him a cake. There wasn't money enough for anything like a real present. Ma sent me to fetch the extras with 50 cents that she'd been hiding away. Don't go to Joyce City, Billy, she said. You can get what we need at Downs' Hardly store. I slipped the coins into my sweater pocket, the pocket without the hole. So what does that tell you about her if she has a hole in her clothes?
She's poor.
Again, right? Yeah, so you can kind of get a sense for their poverty. Thinking about how many sheets of new music 50 cents would buy. Mr. Harley glared when the Wonder Bread door banged shut behind me. He squinted as I creaked across the wooden floor. Mr. Harley was in the habit of charging too much for his stale food, and he made bad change when he thought he could get away with it. So, what is this guy like if he sells food too much and he gives you bad change? How would you describe Mr. Hardley? How would I describe that guy?
He's cheap.
Yeah, he's like cheap, right? Not a very good man. I squinted back at him as I gave him Ma's order. Mr. Hardley, it's been worse than normal since his attic filled with dust and collapsed under the weight. So again, I guess these dust storms just wind up putting like weight all over people's roofs. So this guy's roof collapsed because of the weight. He hired folks for the repairs, and he argued over every nail and every little minute. The whole place took shoveling for days before he could open it again, and some stock was so bad it had to be thrown away. So again, this guy has even more reason to be kind of mean and cheap. The stove clanked in the corner as Mr. Hardley filled Ma's order. I could smell apples, ground coffee, and peppermint. I sorted through the patterns on the feed bags, sneezed dust, blew my nose. When Mr. Hardley finished sacking my things, I paid the bill. And tucking the list into my pocket along with that change, I hurried home so Ma could bake the cake before Daddy came in. But after Ma emptied the sack, setting each packet out onto the oilcloth, she counted her change, and I remembered with a sinking feeling that I hadn't kept an eye on Mr. Hardley's money handling. So she's afraid that this guy's shortchanging her. And Mr. Hardley had cheated again. Only this time he cheated himself, giving us 4 cents extra. So while Ma mixed the cake, I walked back to Mr. Hardley's store, back through the dust, back through the Wonder Bread door. Notice there's repetition here. And thinking about the secondhand music in a moldy box at the shop in Joyce City. Music I could have had for 2 cents a sheet. I placed Mr. Hardley's overpayment on the counter and I turned to head back home. So what did the mom make her do? What did her mother make her do?
Pay back the money.
Yeah, exactly right. So he gave her too much change. The mom made her go back and give the money back. I wonder for a moment if he'd called me back to offer a piece of peppermint or pick out an apple from a crate, but he didn't. That's okay. Ma would have thrown a fit if I'd taken a gift from him. All right, so you have 4 questions to answer on Socrative. Let me